Hi again, back in Maine. I was asked to do some basic videos about axe throwing just to get somebody started throwing, so this is not going to be heavy on technique other than my basic approach on how to do it. You can use hatchets of different styles. These are bearded axes, these two, different handles. This is a 17, this is a 14. You can spend as much money as you want, but you can also go relatively cheap. This was my first axe. It's just a little camp hatchet. I think it was like $5 for the head, and I had to replace the handle. You'll also find the handles have different shapes. These are fairly smooth and straight. I prefer those because I use a slide throw. If you look at a lot of the ones in like axe bars and such, they have what's called a fawn's foot or a colt's foot handle, which has a swell to it. I personally don't like that. Most tomahawks and things, when you buy those, they won't have that feature. So a couple of the things about throwing from a basic point of view, and there are going to be a lot of people who have different approaches to it. I'm not going to say mine is the right way. This is just the way I do it. So I guess get to it. My basic grip is just shaking hands with the axe. There's nothing fancy about it. I've already done this, but you will want to check, especially if you're new. You're going to want to check to make sure there are no splinters, especially if you're borrowing axes that have been thrown by other people before you, just so you don't get any surprises when you throw. What I like to do when I throw, I'm right-handed. So I like to put my left foot forward, get a nice balance. I don't know if you can see it from get a nice balance to my throw. What this allows me to do is it allows me to put more of my core strength and legs into the throw and less of my arms. You're not trying to throw through the target, you just want to hit it cleanly and smoothly. The other thing is, and you'll see it, hopefully you can see the line on the ground that I put down, is that you don't want to stand such that your sternum is directly in front of the target that you're aiming for. What you want to do is find that center and then step either to the right if you're, step to the left if you're right-handed, or step to the left if you're left-handed. And of course, lefties are going to reverse their feet. They'll be right foot forward, left hand, versus the righties, which are right foot forward, right hand. The other thing you want to do is you want to be, and this is the most key, is you want to be consistent in how you throw. So people who tend to try to flick, that creates a degree of inconsistency. People who try to throw hard or soft, that creates inconsistency. You want to find a nice, smooth power transfer from your legs to your arms and just let it go. So the basic motion is going to look like just that. And there's no flick at the end. My arm is extending and my wrist is going back to the position, but it's not finishing through like this. It doesn't take a lot to power to a target. You can see that wasn't very hard. You don't have to go through the target. Board targets are different than stump targets. Board targets are a little bit harder because of the orientation of the grain, which is only running up and down, versus a stump, which is running, I don't know what you would call that, radially perhaps. So with that, so once you get consistent, you want to have that consistent throw and power through, not changing anything. You want to make sure that your axe or hatchet is coming pretty much in a straight line. If you're coming from back here and torquing, you're adding twist, which is a whole nother variable that you have to control. It also means your axe will probably hit like this, which may stick in a stump, but probably would have a less of a chance of sticking in a board target. So if you have a consistent throw, the one variable you really have to measure is distance. Each axe, like I said, there's a 17 and a 14 there. Each axe will have its preferred distance for your throw. So what you want to do is you want to find out what your distance is. Now I've marked my distance, which is about 12 feet, 11 and a half feet. For the shorter axes, it's going to be about 14 feet for the 17-inch axe. But one of the ways to do that is people will start you at the closest mark, which for us is 10 feet, and they will have you throw. All right, so that's stuck. But if you'll notice, it also knocked the handle loose, which means that's closer than I want to be. Ideally for me, I'm going to put down an axe, is for that axe to hit just a little bit canted. This means you're too close. This means you're too far away. So you need to start learning how to adjust. So I'm going to show you what the 12 foot looks like. Again, I come to the target, I step off, find my line. I want to come straight back from the center and release. Nothing fancy. You just got to practice it. We'll do that with the cheap axe. Same thing. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to assess how your axe is hitting the target. If you're finding that the handle is hitting first, and sometimes it will still stick, you'll hear pop, pop, and it'll stick, you're a little bit too close. If your head is hitting like this, or you're over-rotated, you're too far away. Now, it may be that you can't get any closer to fix that. You're going to have to find what the next range back for that axe is, or you're going to have to develop some other alternative grips, or look for a different length axe, or learn to throw backwards. Those are intermediate type skills which you could develop. The basic thing for you to do right now is to just get that stance, and people will pace off. For me, it should be about 5 paces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Straight off the line and to the side if I'm right-handed, or to the other side if I'm left-handed. It's that simple. The important thing is that you continue to practice, that you stay consistent with your motions, power transfer through, and that you learn to assess what that axe is doing when it's hitting. The other thing is you just got to hit the target, and that's actually, for some people, is harder. Get used to that. Don't be afraid of letting the axe loose. When a lot of people will try to flick that axe away, they're afraid of it, or they don't feel comfortable with it. You need to just come through and just let it slide out of your hand and do what it needs to do. All right, I hope you find that helpful. I'll do one with knives as well, hopefully a little bit cleaner than this one, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you.